Bernina soy machines do need to be cleaned and oiled on a regular basis. To do so, we want to first remove the thread from the machine. When you do that, if you just pull the thread from the spool right on out, that often drags some of the lint that gathers up at the needle. So often what I'll do is clip the thread from the top and then take that thread directly out of the needle, the same direction it always works. We're going to open this up and also remove the bobbin case. Set that aside. Take out your needle. Now your manuals are going to tell you to turn off your machine. If you go ahead and just unplug the foot control, your light will still be on. You can still see what you're doing, but there'll be less issues if you step on that foot control. So go ahead and do that. We're going to take off our presser foot. You can lift up the lever in the back here and then pull the whole unit down and off. To take the plate off, fabrics like flannel and fleeces, some of the minky and cuddle fabrics that are going on these days, that's going to gather up a lot of extra lint down in this area. You're going to notice there's a bullseye in the back corner of the throat plate. You're going to go ahead and push down on it. Sometimes what I'll do is push down with my thumb and then put my other knuckle on top of it, and that will pop this plate up. So you don't have to have a screwdriver at all to do any of this cleaning, so you really have no excuse. When you reach down in here, you're going to see a little silver lever. You're going to push that to the left, push down. This will come down. This will stay attached to your machine. Reach into the silver part of the hook and pull that on out. This is where you're going to take your brush that came with your machine. I often use the dust it brushes. These are great because I can just swish it right on out and get the lint coming out of here. Do not use canned air. That's going to push more in than out, and we definitely don't want that to happen. Now, for your oil, what you're going to do is as you use it for the very first time, you're going to need to stick a pin down the point to get the oil to come out. Take your hook. This hook here is what does all the work. This part is metal against metal every time a stitch is taken. And so we are going to want to add a little oil to that edge along there. Just a couple drops. And then once we start running it, that will help disperse it as it goes. You're going to actually see when you turn the hand wheel, you see kind of a half of a moon turning now. Okay, so as that goes back and forth, it is a oscillating hook system, so it oscillates back and forth. So does this. It goes back and forth, rocks. So what we're going to do, and sometimes here I'll often lean the soy machine back. This little point, this is the part that actually comes and gets the thread off the needle. And sometimes what I'll do is after I've cleaned this part too, if there's any extra lint hanging out, I'll even feel this with my finger and make sure that there's not any burrs on that. A burr would happen if your needle strikes it and leaves a little rough spot. That's something that you'd want to have your authorized Bernina dealer take out for you and make sure everything else is okay. So as I put this in, we're going to go ahead and set that in. There's really only one way it goes, but it does land flush against the rest of the machine. Once it's in there, it will stay. It doesn't click or anything, but it is in there and will hold. You're going to take this, put your fingers along the bottom part of the silver, and then press back until it comes back behind the lever that you press to release this. After you get all the other lint out from underneath the feed dogs, you're ready to put your throat plate back on. So go ahead and do this. Just line up the back edge of the throat plate with the machine and then press firmly down. That's all you need to do. And then we'll go ahead and we'll put our bobbin back in. We'll put a brand new needle in after you do some cleaning and oiling. It's probably due for it anyway. And then that way you'll have you'll be ready for your next project. Use the little cutter on the door, close that up. We'll add our presser foot. I always put the foot on next and then put my needle in last. That gives me a little bit of an alignment part as I put my needle down into the foot area. Then it goes straight up into the position. If when you put your needle up, for any reason you don't get it up all the way, your needle threader will not work. So I always recommend after you have changed your needle, make sure you use the needle threader because if the needle's not high enough, the needle threader will not line up and you'll know before you start to sew and have additional problems. So that's just a little extra tip there.